What is up, my 5'2" neck-bearded virgins? Today, we are going to be talking about the second step of the getting funded process, all right? So, the first step, you passed your funded account. You watched my video. I taught you how to pass a funded account. You're guaranteed to pass at least one if you do that same strategy at least 10 times and you're not a brain-dead fucking mongoloid, okay? That being said, we're going to assume that you're on step 2, which is the performance account. For this video, I'm also going to be assuming that you are trading with Apex Trader Funding, which is what I'm using, all right? Not sponsored by them, so get out of here with that bullshit. I'm just showing you my strategy and what I do, all right? With that being said, there's a couple things we need to cover, all right? Getting funded is totally different from trading on a performance account, all right? So the main difference is when you're on the evaluation, you treat that shit like it's a freaking, like you're a gambler, buddy. You put your 6 contracts and you buy, and you just pray you pass your account, all right? Whereas on this account, no. Not allowed. Now, this is when risk management is going to kick in, all right? So I'm going to write some stuff down. All right, your primary goal when you're on this funded performance account, there's a couple things that you need to understand. So with that being said, I guess I'll just go over some of the basic rules before we dive into this risk management. I'll explain some rules, okay? And I'll write it down so you can visually see it all. There isn't necessarily a profit target on these accounts, right? There is a trailing drawdown lock, which is basically once you get your account to a certain amount, it'll lock the drawdown so it's no longer trailing. So you won't blow your account in a single trade from a dumb swing in price or something like that, right? It just helps you preserve your account. So getting to that point is very important. On a $50,000 Apex account, that trailing lockdown will happen at $52,600, okay? So once you get your account to this much, $52,600, you're good. You don't have to worry about trailing drawdown anymore. So getting there, that's the tricky part. And once you get there, a lot of stress should be relieved off of you because now you don't have a trailing drawdown and your trades will be a lot easier, a lot less stressful, and it just makes your life a lot easier. So that's the first number I want you to know is 52,600. Why is that? Well, Apex has a special rule where you take the drawdown number, which your drawdown is the same as the evaluation, meaning 2,500 is the max you can lose. Actually, I'm gonna write it a lot bigger so you guys can see. All right, why is it 52,600? Well, 2,500 of that is going to be your drawdown. Then to get to the 52,600, Apex has a rule that you have to add this number to the $100 cushion. So that's how we got 52,600. It's just as simple as that. They literally just have a rule that says you need to make $100 more than the trailing drawdown in order to hit the trailing drawdown lock. And so what this means is once you hit this lock, your account can now go all the way down. I'm gonna write it right here. What this means is your account can now go to 50,100. So with that being said, your new bottom for your account, once you hit this number, is 50,100, all right? If you reach this number again and you go below it, your account is breached. Your funded account is now blown. Not your evaluation, your live performance account is now blown. Your evaluation was only the first step to get onto the performance account. You do not want to blow this performance account, so you need to use proper risk management, which I'm gonna talk about later in this video. For now, I'm just gonna bring up some basic points though and help you understand this because this is the main rule, right? The main rule is this is a trailing drawdown, so it follows your price as you move up. I explained it in the last video, but I will explain it again now. Let's say your account is at $50,000, okay? I guess I'll write it really small right here. You're not gonna be able to see it. $1,000 on your account, then you go up to $51,000. What does that mean? Well, your new trailing drawdown followed your account balance up to 51,000, meaning now your floor before you hit this number was just this number minus 50,000, right? Now that you're at 51,000 and that's your new highest account, because the trailing drawdown follows you up, if you go down $2,500 from this number, your account is breached, all right? Compromised. You're done, buddy. Good luck finding a girlfriend without having your funded account, buddy. We know that money is the only way you're gonna get a bitch. You've never felt the touch of a woman or a warm breast your entire life. So you're hoping that maybe I can pass a funded account and I'll change it all. No, Timmy, it won't. You're gonna be broke the rest of your life and you're never gonna feel the warmth of a woman. Anyways, you get the point. $50,000 to $51,000. Your floor has moved up $1,000. That being said, your new floor would just be this number minus this number. Does that make sense? And if you go down at all, let's say you go to $50,800, down $200, that doesn't change your floor. Your floor is still the highest point that your account reached, okay? So the highest point that your account reached is where the trailing drawdown, the $2,500 subtracts from your highest point of your account. Take notes, listen up, fellas. All right, now that you have that understanding, where does this $100 cushion come into play? I already told you, it's just a rule that Apex has, all right? So this is kind of a simple understanding of the targets and the goals that you need to get to and what to avoid. So obviously avoiding your trailing drawdown and hitting that. All you really have to do. Pretty simple stuff. Not gonna lie, this is all relatively simple. The harder stuff comes in when risk management, which is what we're gonna talk about. But there's also another rule or two that I would like to bring up that Apex doesn't really clarify. And to be honest, I recommend every single one of you that is trading these accounts, this is what I did. Go onto the Apex website and find the performance account rules. They have it on there. They have to legally. This is what I did. All right. I went onto that website and then I literally studied it for hours. Days, weeks. I'm not kidding. I took all the rules, I copy pasted them into ChatGPT. I sent that bitch in and I said, summarize this for me. All right. And I just studied, bro. I studied. So I understood it and I had it in the back of my mind and I understood how it worked because it was really confusing at the start. And there were times where I thought I understood the rules, but I didn't. And then I found out the hard way, right? But you can really make this a lot easier because you retards, genuinely, are you a retarded person? You have an AI girlfriend that helps you, wank your Johnson, but you won't even use it for the right reasons, all right? Y'all are some fucking degenerate. This summarizes the basic rules, drawdown rules, where you need to get your account to for the lock. Let's say you want to pull out a payout though. I'm gonna discuss that before we move on. Let's say you want to pull your first payout. Right? The way that they calculate payouts, this is another little rule that you have to understand and you only know if you read the rules, all right? This number right here, 52,600. I'm gonna erase everything else so it gets all the numbers out of your vision so you can understand this so it's not confusing, okay? We're gonna go back to your account being at 52,600 because that's the trailing drawdown limit, but this is also the number that you can request your first payout at. The catch is, it's only going to be a $500 payout. If you get your account here, it's only going to be a $500 payout. I'll explain why. This number right here is your trailing drawdown number, okay? Plus the $100. That's how you got here. Right? We covered that. In order for you to take a payout, they have a couple rules. Your account balance has to be $2,000 above the trailing or the bottom of your account for you to take a payout. Let's say that your bottom of your account is 5,100, right? We've already discussed this. I'm gonna write this right here. Okay, your bottom of your account is this number right here, 5,100. Remember, this is the lowest you can go without blowing your account, okay? So all you have to do is be above this number by $2,000, all right? So as long as you're above this by $2,000, you're good. The reason for that is Apex has a rule where whatever the drawdown is minus $500, so $2,500. It just gives you extra cushion. That's the only reason they do that, because you'll probably be a stupid neck-bearded retard who overtrade. So that's why they have these rules in place, is to cut out people that get lucky. They don't want you to get lucky and get a payout. They want you to earn it, right? Their entire thing on Apex is making you the most consistent and good trader. So to be honest, I think that Apex has made me a really good trader, and that's because I follow these rules and I studied them, and now I know how to play the game. So that's why it's like, can't beat them, join them, learn how to freaking play the game, learn the rules, right? But yeah, you just add that number together. So your floor plus your $2,000, and the reason it's 2,000 instead of 2,500 is because all you're doing is subtracting $500 from the trailing drawdown, because Apex has that minus $500 from trailing drawdown rule. Okay, so minus 500 from the trailing drawdown on the 50K account, that's your 2,500. So Apex's smallest amount that you can request when you're getting these payouts is $500. All right, so that is the minimum requirement for a payout. With that being said, that is probably why they have the $500 trailing drawdown rule, right? I think it makes sense. So if you wanted to, you get your account to 52,600, you can request $500, all right? I hope that makes sense. Obviously, I recommend if you have a good strategy and you know that you're gonna be able to be profitable and you've proven it to yourself, I recommend you just stick on the account, build it up. The main thing I wanted to explain is if you want to pull out max payout, which max payout is $2,000 for your first 5, after that, you can pull out the remainder of whatever your account is, up to $25,000, I believe, which that's a good rule. So if you stick to your plan and you just build your account up, you're gonna be able to pull out a lot of money, right? So that's how a lot of these traders make a lot of money using Apex, right? The main thing is you want to make sure your account stays above $52,100. That is after you request your payout. As long as you're above that number, you're totally good. Like I said, 52,100 is basically the lowest that your account can go for you to request a payout. So if your account is above this by more than $500, you can request a payout of any size. Let's say you're at 52,700. You could request a $600 payout, okay? I hope that makes sense. If you just think with me for a second. Your account is at $52,700. That means you are $600 over this number, so you can pull that out. That is your payout, right? And it's above the $500 minimum. That should make sense. You should be able to think about that and follow what I just said. With that being said, this is the lowest your account can go after your payout is requested. I hope that also makes sense. If you get your account to 54,100, you can pull out a $2,000 payout. So all you have to do to get the maximum payout is grow your account to this number right here, $54,100, all right? Easier said than done, because Apex has a lot of rules. And so for you to actually get to this point It takes a lot of strategy and understanding and making sure you have a consistent way to make money. You can't just get lucky and make $5,000 in a trade and then get it to $55,000 and pull the money out. Why? I have another rule I'm about to explain to you. Before we move on to that next rule, I hope this all makes sense. I'll go over it one more time and summarize it. Minus $500 from the trailing drawdown leaves you at $2,000. This is for a 50K performance account, right? Meaning, if you get your account to $52,600, you can pull out $500. That's your first checkpoint. If you want to get a bare minimum payout, maybe you want to cover whatever the cost for the prop firm accounts or something, you want to request a payout, right? Let's say you just want to get the minimum payout of $500. You get your account to $52,600, okay? Let's say you want to pull out max payout for the first payout, which is what I did. And that's what I recommend you do too if you have a good strategy. You stick to your strategy, you stick to your rules, you'll get there, right? All you have to do is get your account to $54,100 and then you can request a $2,000 payout. All right, hope that makes sense. The last thing right here, the lowest your account can go after you've requested a payout is $52,100 because they want a $2,000 buffer between your lowest point, which is the $50,100. Hold on. So $50,100 is the lowest that your account can go without being breached. Apex's rule is you just have to be $2,000 above that buffer for you to request a payout. Anything above that, you can take out if it's more than $500, which is why the minimum for you to request a $500 payout would be $52,600. Does that make sense? I hope that's simple. Probably the easiest way I could break it down. Go to the website, check the rules, put it into ChatGPT. If you have questions, ask me in the comments or just use ChatGPT. It could probably answer it. But ChatGPT is sometimes wrong. So you just got to take it into consideration. And you might have to update ChatGPT on the rules because it was wrong when I was trying to figure it out. That's why I had to do my own research, right? And hoping that this stuff helps you out. So this should give you everything you need to know, right? In regards to the numbers and where you need to get your account to, okay? Now we're gonna talk about the 30% rule, which is another rule. It's like really important. This is the reason why you can't make $5,000 in a single trade and pull it out. Okay, so there's two ways that this 30% rule impacts your account. The first one being the consistency rule. So like I said, there's two ways. There's consistency and there's the negative P&L rule. I'll talk about consistency first. Basically, this just means that your largest trade has to be less than 30% of your total profit, right? So let's say your account is at $4,000 in profit. 30% of that would be $1,200, meaning your largest trade cannot be more than $1,200. If you go over that, you will not be eligible to request a payout. They'll deny your payout, and they have people that actually check for this stuff. So you need to make sure that you are consistently like checking up and making sure that your top trade, your biggest trade, is not more than 30% of the account. So if your profit is at $4,000, your trade cannot go over $1,200. That's the total bounce for the account, not just in the day. Yeah, if you're at $54,000 on your account, your largest trade cannot be more than $1,200, all right? If that's 30% of your account, which that is. So you just have to make sure that you understand that so you don't mess up and take too big of a trade and then have to worry about making it up, you know, trading more days, like more trades to make up for the difference, you know, and grow your account just so it's under the 30% margin, right? Because they will deny your payout if you do not comply with this. It's really simple. There's really not much to say on that one. The negative P&L rule is a little bit more complicated though. So the way that this works is basically we're going to use the same numbers. Let's say you're $4,000, but that's on the day. You're up $4,000 on the day. Your account cannot drop 30% of that without violating the rules. So let's say that you're up 4,000 and then you drop 1,200. If you drop $1,201 and you violate that 30% negative P&L rule, Apex will most likely either breach your account or your payout will get denied because you were over trading. And it's kind of just like one of those things that they have in play so that you don't overtrade and overdo it. So it's just teaching you good habits, realistically. You shouldn't be trading that much. If you're up 4,000 on the day, why the hell are you not off the charts? Like, be for real, you know? But it's really simple, and that goes with unrealized trades. Let's say that you're up $4,000 on the day, okay? And then you open a trade. You already got this profit for the day. You're done. You don't need to do anything else. You're already up 4,000 on the day. Then you open up another trade and lose 30%. That's when they get upset, okay? They don't want to see that. They will literally deny your payouts because of that stupid ass rule. Like, I'm not kidding. You have to be super, super hard on these rules. You need to follow them. I do not recommend trying to test your luck because you will get your payout denied and all your hard work, you'll hate it. You'll have to reset and it's just not worth it. So I recommend learning these rules so they're engraved in the back of your head, all right? This is the 30% rule. That's all it is. It's not super complicated, but you do need to keep it in mind when you're trading so you don't mess up, all right? All right, the next and final thing I want to talk about in this video is the risk management aspect, which is arguably the most important part. So obviously the rules are super important and you need to abide by them in order to get a payout and actually qualify, but for you to actually get to the point where your account is sitting at 54,600 or 54,100 so that you could actually request that $2,000 payout, you need to know a couple things, right? And risk management is the main thing. Before we get into that, one quick rule I forgot to talk about. I don't know how I forgot this, but Apex has a rule limit on how many days, trading days, you have to have in order to qualify for a payout. So Apex considers a trading day any day that you enter and exit a trade, okay? So you need 8 of those trading days, okay? So you need 8 trading days total in order to be qualified for a payout. Out of those 8 days, 5 of those days have to be $50 or more in profit in order for you to be eligible. Obviously, you're gonna need more than 5 $50 days to get to your freaking account threshold, right? But that's their bare minimum for requesting a payout so that you don't overtrade or whatever. That's very important. You need to know that. 8 days total, 5 of those days have to be $50 or more in order for you to be eligible to request a payout, okay? That's just one rule. I can't believe I forgot to mention that. But yeah, some days, my very first payout that I had, I actually was at the threshold amount already, but I didn't have enough days under my belt. So I needed one more day of $50 or more. That means I had 4 days where I made like 1,000 or so, and maybe a little bit more. And then I just didn't have enough. I didn't have enough $50 or more trading days. So what did I have to do? I literally entered a trade for $50. I got out at $51 just so that I was over the limit. As soon as I was over, I exited my trade. It wasn't like exactly $51. I think it was like 60 or 75 bucks. But point is, I got in and out really quick, tiny little scalp, just so that I could reach the 5 days threshold. All right. That was the smallest little rule, but I can't believe I forgot to mention that. So now we get into the fun stuff, which is risk management. All right. This is arguably the most important thing when it comes to getting your first payout. So the reason why it's the most important is because having proper risk management is what's going to get you to that $54,100 threshold so you can actually request your $2,000 payout, right? And so I kind of like to think of these accounts like I treat them like they're my babies, right? I treat them like they're real money. I do not gamble on them. I'm not an idiot on them. You have to be super strict with your rules on them. This is a lot different from the evaluations. You have to take this a lot more seriously, okay? What do I do for my risk to reward and stuff? Well, first off, I'll tell you how many contracts I trade. I trade 2 ES minis. Depending on the day, sometimes I'll go down to 1 if I absolutely, it's a sketch day to trade, bank holiday, I don't know, name it, whatever it is. There's news or something. I don't want to risk too much. I'll just do 1 contract so that I can maybe make some profit on the day, but not risk too much. And that's kind of a part of risk management, is figuring out what days should I go heavy, risk on, what days should I be risk off or a little more passive, what days should I not trade, which is just as important, right? Is figuring out what days am I gonna actually trade. Because I'll tell you right now, if you do not see your setup in an A+ manner, you're not trading. I'm telling you, you need to not trade. Don't think, oh shoot, I can get in for a quick little scalp here. I can make a little bit of money here. I don't want to end the day without trading. I feel like useless. Like, why did I just waste a day? No, little Timmy, you virgin. This is why you've never touched a woman. Listen, you have to be able to stay out of the market when conditions are not right. That is the most important thing I've learned, all right? When you see your setup, don't hesitate, take it. If you don't see your setup and you force a trade, I'm gonna spank you, okay? Lock in. Do you want money or no? You want your AI girlfriend to retire so you can actually get some real, you know what I mean? Like, anyways, 2 ES mini contracts, that's what I like to trade. I aim for 10 points. So I do the same 10-point strategy as my evaluation, right? It's just sized down. That's literally the only difference, all right? I take the same break and retest, the same bounces or rejections off highs, same liquidity sweeps, reactions to key levels. That's all I do. Whatever your strategy is, it doesn't matter. Genuinely, you can have whatever strategy you want as long as you're sticking to one and you have set risk management. The next thing I do, I like trading 1 to 5 RR. That's what I like personally. Or sometimes if I sense that there's a reversal coming and I can like tell that the market is reacting a certain way to a certain level, or I'm just sure, you know, like I have a gut feeling and I trust my intuition because I've been doing this a while, I'll take a 1 to 3. I'll take a 1 to 2 sometimes. It really depends on the day. You have to be willing and understand how the market works. Obviously, the best thing you could do would be to let your trade play out. However, sometimes market conditions don't meet that. And if you're trying to preserve your capital and you understand it's okay to have a little bit of a smaller day is better than a freaking red day, right? That's all that matters, right? So it's good to keep that in mind when you're in your trades, but don't make it a habit where you're doing it every single trade. Like, you need to be able to set your take profit and stop loss and let the trade play out. I'm saying for certain trading days where the market is unsure, super high volume, or it's just playing weird, it's not a bad idea to take a 1 to 3 or a 1 to 2 RR trade, right? That's totally normal. That's totally fine. It's better to leave in profit. That's what I would recommend to you. So don't take it as like a bad thing. You know, you're still ending the day in profit, a good amount of profit too if you're sizing correctly. You'll just stack those days up slowly over time and you'll easily be at that 8-day, it's 5 $50 or more days, you'll easily be there. But yeah, that's kind of my strategy though. That's what I risk. So 1 to 5 RR, what does that mean? Basically, I'm risking $200 to make 1,000. The hard part about this is using this 2-point using 2 ES mini contracts, risking 200 to make 1,000. That's literally a 2-point move to make a 10-point move. So sometimes you'll see that price will hit your stop loss really fast, right? And although I don't like when that happens, it's a part of the game and you have to be okay with it. But if you have a strategy and you know where, like how the market's going to react to certain levels, this shouldn't be a problem for you. You should be able to say, like, find a good entry, right? And personally, I've been able to find entries where I enter easily, where it doesn't hit my stop loss and it just goes up 1,000 points or 10 points. Sometimes though, what'll happen is I'll get stopped out and then I'll be like, oh shoot, it looks like it's gonna reverse or it goes a little lower and I have a better entry for my model. So what I'll do is I'll re-enter and I'll set the same 2-point stop loss. That's my risk for the day, right? This is how I personally manage my risk. My max loss per day is $400 per account. Basically, that gives me 2 trades to try and hit that 1 to 5 RR, and it's only on a 10-point swing and all I have to do is get a good entry. I've had days though, like I had a day on Monday where I entered twice, right? I got my entry, got stopped out. I was like, that's okay, I'll look for a better entry. I'll wait for my setup to play. I got an even better entry on what I thought was my setup, right? I got stopped out. Who cares? Guess what happened? My trade would have ended up playing out. However, if I hypothetically risked 4 points on a trade, I still would have lost those 4 points. So that's why I kind of like splitting it up into separate entries so that I could, reanalyze and re-enter based off of what I see the market doing. That's just personally how I manage my risk. You can figure out however you like to do it, but on those days, for example, where I made that 10 points, I still have to subtract the $200 that I lost. So I really only made $800 per account, which is okay. That's $800 per account. If I'm trading 4 accounts, that's $3,200. You see what I mean? So you just got to figure out what works for you and what type of risk you like, right? So I'll risk $400 to make $1,000 on any given day, all right? However, if I hit my $400, I'm off the charts for the day and I know to get off. I close my charts. I close Trade You have to do that. This is how you get good and profitable at trading. You have to understand when to quit, right? Because if you keep going, you're going to, oh shoot, maybe I can catch a move, right? And then you re-enter. And then let's say you get lucky, hypothetically, right? Because you're a freaking retard and you're like, oh, I'm gonna re-enter. You get lucky, you get back to break even, and you're like, oh shit, that's fire, I'm back at break even. You don't exit, you let your trade play out, and then guess what? It goes down, you fucking get stopped out, you lose even more, you're down to $650 on the day. That's what happens when you don't follow your rules, all right? Moral of the story, you need to follow your rules, you need to have set risk for the day, you need to have a set plan before you even enter your trade, and if you do that, I can guarantee you that you're gonna become a better trader, okay? I'm not gonna guarantee you that you're gonna be profitable because you and little Timmy, the little neck-bearded retards, aren't really that smart, all right? You're a little bit, hey, don't be mad at me. And don't come to me crying because you blew your performance account because you decided to overtrade, all right? I just told you, risk your $400 and get off the charts. If you break that rule and you get mad, not my problem, buddy. That's yours, your account. Because I don't do that shit. I used to, don't get me wrong. I used to do that. I would be down 400 and I'd be like, I can make it back. That's revenge trading. You don't have set rules. You're gonna lose all your money. Trust me, I learned the hard way. You don't wanna do that, painful. But it's also a part of the process. So if you do it, don't feel too bad. Don't beat yourself up. You just gotta learn from it because you're probably gonna do it because you're a freaking brain dead retard. But if you wanna speed that process up and learn from me, I just told you what I do and how to do it, all right? Set your risk amount for the day, get off the charts if you hit it. On the opposite end of that, let's say you get your $1,000 trade, okay? Or whatever your profit is for the day. You can start smaller than this. And if you're new, I actually suggest not doing what I do because I'm experienced. I know what I'm doing now. I would suggest going down to just 1 contract. I would suggest going down to just 1 contract if you're new. However, the reason for that is because then you have more room for your stop loss. Rather than getting stopped out at 2 points, you could have a 4-point stop loss and lose the same amount, all right? All right, so that basically covers the risk management side of it. You have your set risk, you don't break it. If you break it, your account is gonna get breached just because you're a retarded person. So I would avoid that at all costs. If you have your winning day and you hit your trade, right? You're not gonna get greedy and re-enter. You take your trade and you get off the charts for the day. The same way that if you hit your bottom risk, you're out for the day, right? It's the same exact premise. If you hit your threshold for how much you lose for the day, you get off the charts. If you hit your threshold for how much you win on the day, you get off the charts. Super simple, okay? And you have to stick to that if you want to make it. Like I'm saying, you got to just believe me, all right? Try it out for yourself. You'll figure it out. You'll understand what I'm saying. Trading is so much more than just your strategy. Like, that's the thing I'm trying to explain to you. Strategy is super important, don't get me wrong. I would say that having your risk management and your emotions in check is 10 times more important than your strategy, because strategy is simple. You could teach anyone a strategy, have them do it, but they still won't be profitable. So without your risk management and your emotional control, you're just going to be a bum. That's unprofitable. So I think that's all for this video, to be honest. I covered everything I wanted to. You now understand the basic Apex rules. You understand the drawdown rules. You understand the 30% rule. You understand everything you need to know. The 8-day trading rule, the 5 days or more, $50 or more, and you have an idea of risk management. And I told you what I do personally. So I think that's all that you need to get your first payout. If you rack up $4,000 days and then a couple $50 days, you can pull that $2,000 profit out. That's all you have to do. And even if it's not $1,000 days, do 500, right? It doesn't matter. Do not rush getting your first payout. Take this as like, you have to learn how to do it before you can actually do it consistently. And just by showing up every day and, you know, analyzing, hey, should I trade today or should I have a no trade day? Should I be cash today or should I actually enter? Risk on, risk off. What should I do? Just show up and you'll figure it out, all right? I can promise you that. But the most important thing is just showing up, all right? You're not going to get good and get profitable and get a payout if you struggle to show up, if you don't even, you know, try to pass your evaluations, if you don't even try to learn. Like, you need to be here every single day doing it, all right? You're not going to get there just by freaking doing whatever the hell you want. But the reason why I recommend you take the time to actually show up is being a trader is literally the best thing you can do. You have location freedom, time freedom, you're your own boss, and you can make stupid amounts of money. So like, I don't see why you wouldn't want to do that. I literally can wake up at 6 o'clock for market open, get ready, get my pre-market levels marked out, figure out what entries I'm looking for. I do that for about, 15, 20 minutes. Then I'm waiting for market to open. I look and see how my levels are getting reacted to, enter and exit my trades. I can be done by 6:40 some days. I literally can do whatever the hell I want for the rest of my day. I can go goon and play Apex Legends and freaking hit the gym and just do dumb shit. Like, why would you not want to do that? Like, are you dead ass? Now you have more time to spend with your AI girlfriend because you're a virgin. So I hope that this video helped you. And if it did, leave me a comment, because I like reading comments. When I get no comments on my videos, it makes me a little depressed. So say something, bro. If you watched this far, just say some shit, bro. Because like, why wouldn't you? Type. Thanks for watching. I hope I provided you with some value. I gave you a bunch of sauce in this video. If you take this, at least try to understand it. If you're trying to become profitable and use, Apex to make your money, this video should help you. You can obviously pick a different prop firm if you want, but I recommend sticking to one so that you can get a payout, because that's what I did. One strategy, I stuck with one prop firm. I stuck with, one type of risk management. Keep it simple, stupid. You ever heard KISS? Keep it simple, stupid type. So yeah, I think that's all. Best of luck.